So when I'm working from organic objects, I enjoy lighting them very dramatically from one side. So in this case, these garlic cloves are hit from the left and they cast these gorgeous shadows upon the table. And so knowing that and knowing I have this insurance of this steady light, I can really be sure that I have set myself up for the potential of creating an image with three-dimensionality and a tangibility. So if I'm working from something like this, and in this video I'm working from the photo, but I do have these actual garlic cloves, just easier to record it from the photo, but in reality I'd be working from the substance itself. I'm going to translate the composition over here, and I'm going to put in a rectangle shape that echoes the shape that I think that I'd like these to fit into. And this is changeable. And I'm also putting the lines down kind of light at first because I'm not sure if this is exactly what I'll end up with. And I'm going to start by placing the cloves themselves in the space and working with the outline, working with the basic shape, and just trying to map out the picture first. Not only am I putting a soft map in for the cloves themselves, but also for their beautiful cast shadows. So I'm just starting very lightly, as you can see, and I'm going to be laying in the basic shapes and just seeing whether or not this rectangle is really going to hold the shapes that I want to portray. And I see this cast shadow coming off to the side. I love that cast shadow, so I might just give myself like a little more space on the right so that this cast shadow can extend out in that direction. And then I'm going to come down to the front here. I'm noticing that if I drop a line from here, it just comes out just past that. So I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to notice its placement in relationship to the other objects because it's all relative and nothing exists in a vacuum. So we're always making comparisons. And I'm just finding the basic shape of this. And then what's beautiful here, and again, I think I'm going to extend this down a little lower because what's beautiful with this clove is this sort of boat-like shape of this shadow being cast on the table. So shadows sort of reinforce the reality of the object. And then once I sort of have a sense of where things are going to go very softly, then I can come in and start to make a few more definitive marks. And you might notice that the marks I'm making are almost straight lines. Even though these cloves aren't completely made up of straight lines, sometimes when I draw with more of a straight line quality, what happens in my brain is that I think a little bit more architecturally, and that also helps me reinforce this idea of sculptural form. Because a lot of times when we're working in painting or drawing from life, we want to portray that three-dimensionality. We want maybe in the end for the object to feel like you could just sort of pick it up off the page. So creating this, it's like a map in a way that you're creating of the shapes, not only of the objects, but of the cast shadows. These cast shadows like echo the shape of the object, and they actually interrelate with the other objects in the composition. So I love these little dry bits off the garlic cloves, that kind of how this one cuts across that shadow, and then coming up to the sort of peak of this, and then you have that little bit where it attached to the larger garlic piece, and then there's a plane, it's like a planar situation across the top of this garlic clove. So if I can show that, and then I see another plane back here that's very dark, I can show that too, then this starts to really take on a three-dimensionality. So, but without this intense lighting, there's no way that that would be showed off. So you really want to manipulate your lighting. You don't just want to set up and like have an overhead fluorescent light on. You really want to manipulate the lighting. You want the lighting to help you, whether you're working with garlic cloves, a clementine, an apple, a person's face. Like, it's the hardest thing for me anyway to work at creating dimensionality without a proper lighting situation. So I'm coming in here, I'm just laying in some of these cast shadows. I'm really making the design of my composition. And I'm feeling like the container's pretty good. I might extend it out just a little bit on this side again to leave a little wiggle room. But I'm enjoying how this right now as a map, just a simple map of these objects, is starting to come about. So that, in terms of mapping the objects, deciding on your composition, and just laying in some simple lines, that would be a really important step in terms of putting together a drawing from objects like this.